Hi, I'm Cameron Waring from the Australian Driving Institute. I'm here today to talk to you about how to ensure your holiday will not only be a memorable one, but a safe one whilst driving a four-wheel drive in Australia. This is a beautiful country with many different landscapes, so before you get on your way, it is important to be aware of this four-wheel drive safety information. Vehicles like this sedan have a low centre of gravity. This means it's harder to roll over. This vehicle has a high centre of gravity and therefore easier to roll over. This vehicle is not able to brake or turn as well as a sedan. This is because of their design. It's best to drive this vehicle more like a truck and less like a sedan. For example, you'll need to focus on keeping your vehicle stable. You can achieve this by keeping both hands at balance points on the wheel and guiding the vehicle through bends. It is also important that you observe the speed signs for all bends and keep close to these recommendations. The accuracy of these signs may vary across the country. As you round a bend, be gentle with your brakes and accelerator to keep the vehicle stable. We recommend you keep your cabin free of loose items. Simple things like phones and tablets can be dangerous in the event of an accident. Most people don't consider this for normal driving. An example of this is decelerating up to a set of lights and a piece of fruit rolls under your feet. This will prevent the brakes from working. Be aware of how much you carry and where you carry it. Keep things as low and secure as possible. These vehicles are two-wheel drive until you complete two tasks. First, you'll need to know your vehicle and to see if it has front hubs. Safely pull over to the left, get out and check the hub on the front wheels. There is a knob to turn from free to lock. You must first engage lock before engaging the lever inside the cabin. The vehicle won't be four-wheel drive until you have selected H4. Occasionally you will face an area that is more demanding than normal, in this case a steep climb. We will need low range, and the characteristics of the gearbox will change, where it will maximize the use of torque and not having to use power. You must be stopped to engage low range, or 4L. Now move the lever out of high range into neutral, then into low range. The vehicle will behave very differently and you will be limited to about 30 or 40 kilometers per hour as a top speed. You don't need to use any accelerator to move off in either first or second gear. You must not drive on a sealed road whilst in this configuration. There are many gravel roads in Australia and they vary in type. You can have grit, which is sand-like, and it's slippery. This is why it's good advice to turn on your headlights to be seen, engage four-wheel drive and the hubs for gravel roads. This will give you better grip. At speeds up to 80 kilometers per hour, you can simply move the lever like this, and you are now in four-wheel drive high range. You would use this for gravel roads where your speeds are likely to be over 20 kilometers per hour. This will give you better grip and you'll be more stable. Iron ore roads or buckshot or little round balls is more slippery than a limestone road and has fine red dust. With all of these roads there will be sections that have loose gravel swept into mounds that separate the cleared strips where tyres have generally travelled. Take care that if you must change tracks, back off the power, keep both hands on the wheel at 9 and 3 while steering gently through the built up gravel. One thing about gravel, it's easy to go too fast, and 80 kilometers per hour is a good limit when conditions are good. If you feel like the vehicle is moving around on the road, then it's too fast. This is a sign of using up all the grip, and so a bend or having to brake suddenly will become a problem. If the vehicle is moving around and not taking bends with absolute stability, then it's too fast. So it's important to remember not to drive on hard surfaces like bitumen when in four-wheel drive, as this will cause damage to the gearbox and transfer case. Remember to engage the hubs in four-wheel drive when driving on gravel. Then, remember to do the reverse. Free the hubs and return to two-wheel drive before going back onto a sealed surface. You need to take great care when driving in four-wheel drive. Going slowly is best. Let the vehicle do the hard work. Going too fast could mean you will go past the point where grip was, and in serious situations you could slide back down to the point where grip was. This is potentially dangerous. Before driving onto sand or mud, test it with your feet. If you sink, so with the vehicle. First approach on idle, in first gear, and see how the vehicle goes. If wheel spin starts, stop the vehicle. You must avoid digging holes with your tyres. This will make it harder for you to get out. So to stop the vehicle, put it into reverse and try and drive out. You can try reducing your tyre pressures to about 22 psi but no lower. This will increase the amount of tyre on the ground and spread the weight of the vehicle over a greater area. Make sure you hire an air compressor to reinflate your tyres back to 50 psi. Take the air compressor out of the bag, lift the bonnet to expose the battery, and you'll see the negative and positive terminals. Take the red connector to the positive terminal and the black connector to the negative terminal. Your air compressor can now be switched on. Remove the valve cap and place the tube onto the valve stem. You can now inflate to 50 psi. Once inflated, turn the air compressor off, disconnect the terminals and pack it away. Make sure you put the valve cap back on. Now back on the road, many dangers exist with water crossings. Not just the water, but Australian wildlife like crocodiles too. Sometimes the volume of water moving combined with the depth can cause the car to float and move downstream. We strongly recommend that you use 300mm as the limit. This will ensure there is no water rushing against the side of the car. It's always best to walk the pathway and let the car cool off before entering water. Driving through water, again, is done slowly. Don't push water up into the engine bay by driving quickly. Slowly also allows you time to think. On the approach to some crossings, there will be a sign telling you that the road is closed. Driving on closed roads will attract large fines and it may also breach your rental terms. Ask yourself, do you really need to cross the creek? Because if you're feeling a bit wary of crossing, then the answer is no, don't cross. In Australia, we have large distances between towns and fuel stations are not always open. As part of planning your journey, find out how much fuel you have, how far to the next town, and if they have fuel available. We also don't have many freeways in regional Australia. Normally they are only near capital cities. Otherwise we have single lanes running in opposite directions next to each other. You need to observe this policy. Overtake only in designated overtaking lanes. Being overtaken on dirt is also risky. Stones can flick up, and you lose some vision, so just back off for a few seconds until the road clears. Besides, what's the rush? Sit back a long way from the car, even 10 or 20 seconds, and enjoy the changing landscape. You'll also see wildlife more easily. Fatigue is Australia's biggest problem when driving on our roads. It affects logical thinking and can have severe consequences. It's very simple to manage if you follow these tips. Stop every 2 hours. This is a good way to see our country and rest your mind. Eat well, and avoid processed foods like lollies. Drink lots of water, rest well every day, and share the driving. Simple tips like having a passenger stay awake helps as well. This is a good buddy system to observe. The side of your vehicle is quite large and can act like a sail on a boat. If you get enough of a side wind, the vehicle will shift and you'll need to steer to keep it in the lane. A line of trees can protect you from wind, and when the trees finish, the wind can rush through and have the same effect. The more worrying is an approaching truck. The wind from these machines can be significant, so you need to be prepared, holding the wheel at 9 and 3. Push against the wheel and look where you want to go. This will help you keep stable. Dry weather road only and closed road signs are a common occurrence. You must obey these rules. Restrictions and penalties may apply if you breach these. Dry weather roads mean they change character very quickly. They don't look like a problem, but many roads are not built with a foundation. After 10 millimetres of rain, it's possible you'll just sink and you'll be stuck there. Please take caution on these roads. Please pay attention to the signs. Driving over rocks and logs can cause damage to your vehicle and could cause you to become stuck. Even a stick or a branch can flick up from a tyre and smash into the doors, or even worse, the glass. Keep an eye on the vegetation and see what obstacles there are and make a plan around them. It's deceiving how tall these vehicles are. Right here you can see the height of the vehicle is 2.4 metres. When approaching bridges, they will generally have a sign that identifies a safe height that a vehicle can pass underneath. Otherwise, you'll have to be aware and judge things like overhanging branches. It is best to overcompensate and steer well clear of obstacles like branches. These vehicles are not easy to look out of the back of. You may need to ask a travelling companion to get out and help. You could be reversing into a pole or even a branch, and you are unlikely to see it. If you are by yourself, pace out the distances. Parking under a tree when it's cold, raining or stormy is risky too. Gum trees can lose a branch without warning in these conditions. Australian roads are famous for our particular wildlife. Kangaroos, for example, are always around, but their presence increases around dusk and dawn. We recommend you don't drive when wildlife is most active. Occasionally you'll see signs that tell you in advance of wildlife, so take note of these signs. When there is tall grass and trees close to the road, back off and expect wildlife to jump out. If an animal does stray onto your road space, be ready to hit the horn as you brake. But if hitting an animal is unavoidable, steer straight. While braking, swerving could result in a worse incident, and hitting the animal is the lesser of two evils. Don't use your phone whilst driving, and ideally your passengers are helping to watch out for wildlife with you. Wildlife will gather around creeks and rivers also. Keep the speed down here too. My advice is to stop before sundown and enjoy one of our beautiful sunsets and settle in for the evening. Having your vehicle full of dust is very uncomfortable. It will get into everything, and in wet conditions the inside of your vehicle will turn to mud. It is relatively easy to keep your four-wheel drive mostly dust free, and all you need to do is the following. Have your windows up. Then you need to pressurize the cabin with your fresh air on and your fan up high. Avoid driving behind a vehicle and in their dust. Finally, when stopping, wait for the dust to settle before you open doors. It'll only take a few seconds. It is best to use the recirculating function to keep exhaust fumes or smoke from fires out of your cabin. It's also a good way to rapidly cool down or warm up your cabin, but once you're moving, keep the cabin mostly on fresh air. You have a variety of tools within your vehicle that, should you get into trouble, you can use. This shovel is useful for digging out around the wheels to clear a way to get out of a bog. If the bog is too severe, you can fit this recovery strap, but you need to call the number on the key tag before securing it to your vehicle. The air compressor, we've spoken about this. It needs to be hooked up to the car battery and you can reinflate to 50 psi. The first aid kit can deal with minor abrasions, bruises and burning, and this EPIRB is an emergency positioning indicator that will alert the National Rescue Services in the event of dire problems. This needs to be used for life-threatening situations only. Satellite phones are the best way to stay in touch when working or travelling in remote areas. Sat phones offer you 100% coverage, giving total peace of mind in the event of accidents or unforeseen illnesses. They are simple to use and operate in the same way as your own mobile phone. With over 90% of Australia not covered by mobile phone network, why take the risk? See your Britz office for more information to discuss your satellite phone hire. Well, there you have it. We hope this short video has given you a better understanding of how to drive a four-wheel drive safely in Australia. Remember, if you need anything, please see us at the office before you leave. Have a great trip and enjoy this beautiful country.